Welcome back to Tactical and Practical. I'm super excited for this episode because my guest today has a really great mind for marketing. I've learned a lot from her, especially as it relates to the fashion industry, where I've spent the last 4 years of my career. And firsthand, I've been able to put into practice what she preaches. And it made us a bunch of money. So I'm super excited for y'all to learn from her. You've seen her on Twitter, Alex Grayfeld. Hey, it's Alex P on Twitter. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, I'm so excited. I've followed you. I've been like a longtime fan, first time caller for a long time. We've talked twice in person. Once I was severely concussed, and you
Yeah.
very graciously went and got me a Red Bull, which isn't quite doctor's orders, but I felt like I needed it at the time. And then we connected briefly at Commerce Round Table in Austin a couple weeks ago. But I'm super excited to finally have a real conversation.
I know. I mean, when I was at Commerce Roundtable, I was getting prepared to speak and I was just so I was like so nervous.
Well, you couldn't tell. You killed it. Super valuable for everyone there. Which is why I wanted to have you on the show. I've been obsessed with boosting our brand's perceived value for the last couple of years. I think it's something in the fashion world, especially if you are not, competing in the basic space, if you're not selling plain t-shirts and socks and underwear at Target and Walmart. It's what you have to do to kind of separate yourself in the world of fashion. Would love to kind of hear like how you approach that and different mechanisms you've seen work to kind of increase the perceived value of your products.
Yeah. So perceived value is just the gap between when a consumer sees your product or picks it up or even sees it online for the first time, what they think it should be worth versus what you're actually charging for it. And you want to spread that gap as wide as you can because basically, like if they feel like, they look at one of your hats and before they see the price, they're like, wow, this looks like it should cost $150. And then they get on the site and it's only 48. They're like, wow, this is a really great deal, even if it's not on sale. So there are the things you can do to increase perceived value. In fashion, it's a bit more specific, but there are things that you can do like no matter what you're selling. In fashion, actually, so I started my career as a fashion designer, and one of my first roles was designing belts that got sold with jeans. So if you've
Nice.
ever been to Walmart and seen a pair of women's jeans with a belt like stapled to it,
Mm-hmm.
it's like that was a huge perceived value driver because we were selling the same like $38 or $48 jeans that everyone else was, but ours came with a belt on it. Some other things that can improve perceived value, uh, embellishment, like sequins, shiny things. That's always a driver, like the level of detail. And then there's just like the overall presentation. So let's say you're selling a skincare cream. It's like, is it in a plastic container that you can order off of Amazon or Alibaba, or is it in a glass container that you had to have custom created for your brand? It's just like those little touch points in the experience, but you can also fake it because if you know what those little cues are, you can kind of design cheap things to feel more expensive. But like to the average customer, it's like the belts. It's like they didn't know those belts cost 2 cents to make. To them,
Right.
they're like benchmarking it against a belt that they'd have to buy for
Mm-hmm.
$12.
Yeah, I love that example. We at OG, we shipped every watch in like a nice wood box, which for us was like kind of an afterthought. Same thing, didn't cost us a lot of money, but the amount of customers that talked about they keep the box and like that's what they
Yeah.
store their watch in, and it's on their desk, and like it's something that like elevates the entire experience, like kind of shocked me and shocked us, and it actually led to us creating nicer specialty packaging that we actually upsold,
Mm.
because I think like adding on like a practical accessory or like a thing that makes your main product easier to use or more convenient, like the belt or the box, um, it in the customer's mind, it's just like, oh, this is another thing that this product is doing for me that I don't have to search elsewhere for.
Yeah, yeah, that's a perfect example.
Now I spent like all of my time at OG trying to make our products seem and appear more valuable. We increased AOV by over $100 in the few years that I was there. And we were able to like move into like the next price bracket for watches, even though the watch quality wasn't necessarily always there. We were able to, inlay the story of the unique reclaimed materials that our watches were made from to sell these products at a higher price than watches of similar quality. So like the big example for us was like, I could tell you that we sold watches made with wood. And I could tell you that wood is really cheap. And in fact, most of it's reclaimed, so we get it for free. And the steel of the watch and the movement are good quality, but similar watches with that steel and movement are sold with, for $200. I could tell you all that, and then I could show you a $500 price point, and you'd be like, no, I'm not buying this at all. So we didn't tell people that. We told people that the wood that was in their watch was an oak tree that was planted in the 1800s, and it grew for 100 years before it was chopped down, cut, sanded plain, turned into a whiskey barrel where it aged our favorite liquor for another decade or two, and then we got it and turned it into a watch. Then we're able to charge $500, and we saw in my time there, AOV and conversion rate go up at the same time, which is not always easy. But I 100% attribute it to telling this story that brings customers into a world where the price point makes sense. And that I think is like really important, because most people will associate your product with whatever category they're shopping in. Yeah. I want to take them out of that, and I want to be like, hey, no, leave the watch category in general. Come over here to this universe that we invented to make our price make sense to you.
Yeah, that's kind of like where the overlap between merchandising and marketing happens. Like there's merchandising, there's visual merchandising, which is kind of like the art direction aspect of what you're talking about, and then like the storytelling is kind of like the realm of marketing. So ideally, like all three of those things are working together.
100%. How does this play out in different industries? Does this work for supplements? Does this work in CPG? How can brands that don't sell watches made out of oak trees capitalize on this?
So the perceived value boosting, I mean, the number one thing that's like applicable to beauty supplements is the intro offer. And when you see, like, I think AG1 versus Armra, like, is a good example. Like AG1, their intro offer, it's like they give you the shaker bottle, they give you I think they give you multiple pouches of the powder, and then they give you like this other supplementary stuff. And if you just like stack it all next to each other, it just looks like a lot of stuff. And then they're like, and we're giving you 30% off, or you're saving $100 or whatever it is. A lot of leading supplement companies try to do something like that. And those little things that you include in the bundle that might seem impressive or seem valuable, even if the cost of goods is like 10 cents. Like those are the kind of things that can boost it. But as a marketer, you have to have a good instinct for like which of those things actually communicate value. So I've seen these Armra ads where they're like, get a free scoop arsenal, and it's I still like laugh.
Scoop arsenal.
And it's like 3 of these plastic scoops that you use to scoop the powder out. And I think of like, and it's ironic because it's colostrum. I think of like the free scoops that come in baby formula, because it's only been, I don't know, 6 or 8 months since I've exited that phase of my life. So I'm like,
congrats. Are you sleeping now? Because I don't know if you can see the bags under my eyes here, but I'm still struggling over here.
A lot better than I was.
Good.
Not perfect. But I'm like, these, like, to me, this is not added value. This is like plastic stuff. So you can't just throw anything in there. Actually, another example, Chanel did this advent calendar, and they got like flamed online because the prizes that came out of the advent calendar, which was like a product that you had to pay for, looked like, like crappy samples that they
Yeah.
give away at Sephora or something. So it's like you have to proceed with caution when you put these things together.
Yeah, we cycled through a bunch of gifts with purchase at OG. And until my last year there, like we didn't really find one that seemed to move the needle for people. We did candles that smelled like whiskey because most often it was women who were buying from us for their husbands. So we're like, women like candles, let's try that. Didn't really do anything. That's a man's brain trying to sell to women right there. We did bottle openers, didn't really do anything. We did some accessories that did okay. The only one that moved the needle for us was a free gift card with purchase. Because at a watch brand, like we struggled to get repeat purchases. And I think like expanding LTV, especially in the world of fashion, is like not always easy, especially if you're
Yeah.
not selling like, I buy the same 10-pack of t-shirts every 6 months because they wear out. But when it's something like that's an accessory that's not going to wear out, the only lever we had previously was to basically expand product line. But we found this gift card GWP worked really well to get people to come back and buy again. So I just throw that out there as like, as you're testing all these ways of, making your acquisition offer like seem more attractive, day one conversion rate and CAC and AOV are not the only metrics to go by. Make sure that this maps to, as profitable a customer journey as possible.
Yes, very important. I have a good segue. When you were at Original Green, did you ever think about doing a women's product so that even if it wasn't a watch, like so that men and women could both wear this like whiskey inspired stuff?
Yeah, we dabbled in it. We had a couple women's watches that did well. And we bundled those together around Valentine's Day and Mother's Day and Father's Day and Christmas. And like those did okay. Every time we tried to like scale that, it didn't really work super well. So I think there's like a core group of fans that were just like diehard that got it, but didn't seem like a super viable like acquisition tool for us.
Yeah, I mean, the reason that I bring that up is because one of the core functions of merchandising is lifetime value expansion. So it's, I mean, you feel this most acutely like when you're only selling one product, but it's like, what else do I put in the product assortment to give people a reason to come back? Because that's especially within fashion, but just like across the board, the number one reason that people don't come back and repeat purchase is because there's nothing else that they want to buy. And in fashion, the typical customer journey is like, I come in and buy this shirt I like. Maybe it's this shirt. I come back, I like it. I come back, I buy it in like a different color. I come back a third time and I buy it in a third color and I buy another shirt. And then finally, the fourth time I come back, I buy a pair of pants. So if you take the shirt and like decommission it, you don't run it in the next season, I have nothing to come back and buy. Or if it's only available in one or two colors, it's like I might not complete that journey. So that is one aspect of it, but it's basically like guiding people through the life cycle with the products that you produce. Yeah.
I think our biggest win with that angle is we did have somewhat of a LTV and like a returning customer base. But the best thing that worked for us in acquisition was selling actually a 3 and 5 watch bundles, which we didn't think was going to work at all. But there were a couple of watches we saw where like, hey, most commonly someone buys watch A and then they come back and buy B and C within the next 12 months. Why don't we just put them all together? The perceived value of that bundle can be huge because the MSRP of the bundle is $1,500 and we'll sell it to you for, under $1,000. So you're getting, 35% off this bundle. We're happy because our CAC doesn't go up that much on it. and we're getting like your entire customer value on day one. So that was a little bit of an out there one where like we weren't bundling like little accessories or something like to make the watch better, more convenient. It wasn't a case or anything. But that was us just trying to like, we want all of your LTV on day one.
That's interesting because there's a trade-off between first purchase AOV and LTV for 100%. Most products. I think you're in a really, or the watches were uniquely challenging because it's most men don't have a watch wardrobe. It's like there's a segment of the market who's like a watch enthusiast, and they do, but your median buyer doesn't. So I think a strategy like that makes a lot of sense because they're even if they buy one, it's going to be hard to keep yourself top of mind for like the next 6 to 12 months or even 2 or 3 years. I've worked with a skincare brand where they tried a similar strategy where it was like buy one at full price, buy two at 10% off, buy three at 25% off, and it was their hero product. And what wound up happening was like they were degrading LTV over time because they front loaded 3 months worth of purchases. And that's something that if you use it daily, you run out in about a month. And then you're like, if like the whole retention system is working, you're getting the email or the text and you go back and buy again. So people were basically like kind of forgetting about the brand or just like getting distracted and coming back less frequently because they were trying to like, their number one KPI internally was like, let's boost AOV, first purchase AOV.
Yeah, was definitely a challenge in my time in the supplements space was, we could come up with a bunch of offers that increased day one performance. Our AIMR was better. Our AOV to CAC was better. We went from, not profitable on acquisition to profitable on acquisition. But when someone asked me like, hey, is that a good offer? I was like, I don't know. I'll let you know in 12 months. Because like we really don't know, and it doesn't matter if we go from a 0.7 return on ad spend to a 1.2. If that 1.2 customer never buys again, but the 0.7 customer buys every month for 8 months, then we're way better off. And I think that's something that like not too many marketers in e-com are like taking fully into account. They're testing offers constantly, which is great, but they're not, I don't think, tracking the customer journeys after that as diligently as they should be. Because, ultimately the clock doesn't end after 30 days, 90 days, 365 days, but you have to have some mechanism for measuring like, hey, what's this customer going to do over the next chunk of time that we care about before going all in on that offer.
Yeah. And in a really mature business, when you're like at 9 figures plus, it's like there's a place for both of them. Mm-hmm. Like if you think about Coca-Cola, like what percent of Coca-Cola sales is someone, stopping by, like grabbing one from the grocery store, like at the checkout versus buying the 12 pack. It's like your casual buyer is driving a lot of your volume. And when you're an e-com brand and you're like building out these different funnels, like ideally what you're doing is you're aligning acquisition costs with predicted lifetime value so that you can go after all these different segments of customers. And that's part of merchandising because it's like the same first purchase offers are not going to appeal to the really casual buyer versus like the high net worth, like category, like absolutely in the category enthusiast.
Yeah, that's a really good example of someone who buys, a 12 pack of Coke every 2 weeks, or someone that gets it at the checkout for fridge, or someone that only gets it when they eat fast food and they're like, I'll burger and fries and a Coke. But I mean, the business wouldn't be the same if you cut out any one of those groups. And that's something I think e-com brands can take a lesson from too, is like one offer is great. One offer can probably get you to, 10, 20, 30 million. But after that, you need to start understanding like there's different cohorts of the market that are going to respond to different offers. And eventually you want all of them. So I think that's super important.
Yeah.
I've got an example of increasing perceived value that I'd love to show you, if that's all right.
Yes, let's do it.
Let me take a look at this. All right, so this is a split test. It's currently running still for a brand where we are painting the opportunity cost of not choosing this product as a really negative thing. So this first variant on the left here, that shows the benefits of the product. This middle one does a little bit of both. Does like, hey, like if you have it, it's good. If you don't have it, it's bad. The third one that's winning, that increased conversion rate by 30% is saying like, hey, if you don't have this, your basically your day will be ruined. And we are trying to position the value of the product, not necessarily of like what you're going to gain from it, but what it's saving you from. And it's absolutely crushing. But talk to me about, like different sentiments and different tones that you've seen worked to kind of like paint this perceived value in a new, unique way.
So within fashion, it's not typically like you almost don't use words because speaking to these things directly kind of cheapens them, and it's not always the case for every brand.
Sure.
But if you're selling, like, could you imagine like Xenia releasing an advertisement that says, do you want to look like a loser in the boardroom? No, like that's why you need this $5,000 suit. So and as you come back down to earth with the price point, it's like sometimes you can play in those areas a little bit more. I know that I'm going to put on my Sarah Levinger hat for a minute.
Please do. We're a fan of her on the show.
It's like the really intense loss aversion language where it's like, you're a bad person if you don't solve this problem. Like, you're a bad mother if you don't give your kids like Grunts doesn't do this, but you're a bad mother if you don't give the kids vitamins. Or like, she was crying in her mirror and like grabbing her belly fat, and she's like, this is it. I can't live like this anymore. It's like sometimes that, first of all, it doesn't always even work. And when it does work, it often tends to bring in lower quality customers. But what I would say is that you want to try to measure these things longitudinally, like you mentioned before, because sometimes even in apparel, like sometimes sprinkling in a little bit of direct response or features, benefits, messaging does connect better than just like a picture of the product. But it's a matter of taste, as the
100%
the Twitter bros like to say.
Yeah, taste. I will say here too, this product is not a fashion brand. I probably should have brought a fashion example. But yeah, like you definitely can't be too on the nose with it in fashion. Like I never wanted to run an ad OG that was like, hey, men who don't wear OG are soft and cowardly and like, weak men. But we ran the opposite. We said, men who wear OG are, rugged and dependable and smooth and unique and classic and have character. And kind of implied and hoped that they inferred like, oh, if I aspire to that identity and I don't want to be soft, then I should probably get that watch. But yeah, very good call out here to not hit it too hard on the nose, especially for fashion where like so much of our purchase intent is wrapped up in self-esteem and at times insecurity. We never wanted to run an ad that's like, hey, are you insecure? Do you need more confidence? Buy this. Because that would not go well.
But what I will say is there are brands who kind of build it into their voice and their whole proposition and kind of make it work. And usually it's because they do it with humor. Like, like the Perfect Jean is, I think, a good example of that.
Yeah, of that. All right, got one more segment for y'all. It is tweet of the week, and this one's from it's Alex B. You said, have ugly ads gotten too ugly? If you're trying to get stocked in big box stores or acquired by a strategic, the answer might be yes. And you share an example of an ad here. I can't believe this is real, but a supplement
There are worse
company.
ones. I did a whole newsletter on this, and there are ones that are even more gross than this.
Well, this one, if you're listening, shows someone with like shit stain skid marks on their underwear. Super gross. But talk to me about ugly ads, because I've got thoughts on this as well.
So ugly ads work. Like, I am not going to deny that. And I think what happens, especially on X, which drives me bonkers, is that sometimes people conflate ugly ads with violating the law. Like, I made a claymation ad of a pharmacist saying that the ingredients in this product are like the perfect combo to treat your blood pressure. Like, that ad is not winning because it's ugly. It's because you're literally
you're breaking the law.
Shit. Yeah. Yes. So it's like, yes, ugly ads do work, but the kind of like the paradox of direct response advertising is that if that is your only way of communicating about your brand, over time, your brand just becomes associated with problems. Like, it's not about aspiration, or, Coca-Cola is about joy and nostalgia and like summer memories. It's about my skid mark, because it's like, oh, brand X. I think of brand X. I think of my poopy undies.
Yeah.
So, like, what I'm not saying with this tweet necessarily is that if you run these types of ads, your brand will never get funded by PE. It will never get acquired, because there are brands that are like if you look at the Grun's ad library, they're doing some pretty wacky stuff in there, and they've been acquired. None of it's breaking the law, but it's ugly. Some of it is like really ugly. It's more like you cannot, if you have those types of things in mind, you can't go into your ad development process with the idea that like the only thing that matters is what makes my ROAS go up and my daily spend go up.
Agree with that hardcore.
Yeah, there's like longer term implications of doing some of this stuff.
Yeah. Well, and I think like eventually the shock value is going to wear out if you don't keep kind of upping the ante. And I think a lot of these brands are going to find themselves with like a Mr. Beast style problem of content where like, hey, now every video you make costs 15 million to produce because you kept getting crazier and crazier and crazier. And like, that's what the audience demands now. And like, I think my favorite example is like all of the Marvel Avengers movies leading up to Thanos killing everyone was like a great build up. But since you already did a movie about someone killing everyone in the universe, like what else is there to say? There's nothing that can be more intense than that. There's nowhere to go from that. And they've like devolved into like weird time travel multiverse stuff because they had to like write themselves out of that corner. Anyways, all that to say, don't do that in your ad account. If like rage bait and shock value is your only way of getting prospects' attention, that's going to put yourself in a really bad spot in 12 months, I think.
And it's also just kind of like an existential, that not to get all like emo on you, but like as a marketer, it's just like this existential threat in the industry, because even if you're not doing it, a lot of other people are doing it. And it's like the bar for attention is just inching up and up and up every year. And it's almost getting to the point where if you're not building credibility and awareness outside of Meta, it's like you're almost forced into this race. Like if I wanted to launch a gut health supplement and Meta was my go-to-market, I'd probably have to do something with the poop emoji, like at the bare minimum. So we'll see what happens.
So what you're saying is build real brands, not just direct response advertising machines?
I think it's more like if you're thinking of launching a brand, take these issues into account when you pick your go-to-market strategy, and also when you raise money or don't. Because if all you have is like $50,000 or less to launch a brand, it's like you can basically afford, your first round of inventory, standing up your website, like all the basics plus meta. You're going to have to do some of this stuff. So you just
100%.
have to be willing to do it. If you don't want to do that, if you feel like really strongly against it, then go out and raise money.
100% could not agree more. I'm running into that right now with my hat company. Like, I'm bootstrapping it, funded by my freelance work. And like, it's going well, we're growing, but there's definitely the tendency to be like, all right, I could take some short-term growth hacks right now that would help, but that's not what I want to do. So I'm probably just going to keep it on cruise control until I'm like ready to spend the next $100,000 on it. And then it's like, okay, now I can build something real and cool and quality and something that like I'm proud of, the brand standing for, rather than doing whatever I can to increase return on ad spend today.
Yeah, that's hard.
It's hard. This whole game is hard. But Alex, you are making it easier for a lot of us. Thank you for your constant advice on the Twitter and your no best practices newsy. Where can people find you? Where can people learn more from you?
So my X account is, hey, it's
You're
Alex.
calling it X?
Yeah, I try. I feel like if I call it Twitter, it's like Unk status at this
Is
point.
it? Am I Unk now because I'm calling it Twitter?
I don't know. Do you call it Twitter?
Yeah, all the time.
I don't know what to do. Sometimes
Okay,
I slip it. I try to call. It's like I try to call it X, but I don't always successfully remember. So my Twitter /X profile.
There you go.
Hey, it's Alex P, as in penguin, because I was not able to change it when I got married because someone took my handle. And then you can sign up for my newsletter at nobestpractices.co/newsletter.
Awesome. Thanks so much for coming on and spreading some great insights on tactical and practical. Thanks everyone for listening. I will see you next week.